The Azores, a volcanic island chain in the middle of the Atlantic, is famous for its seafood. While some of the dishes you may be familiar with, like octopus and sardines, I decided to sample sea creatures most of you have never seen on a menu before. Let's get weird.
Whoa, that's weird.
So today we're eating limpets. Now limpets are a type of crustacean or shellfish. I thought I had tried every type of shellfish, oysters, clams, mussels, you name it. I've tried it, except for these, I guess. They also call them vapas here. Zoom in. So they're cooked with butter and garlic. And I think you usually find them on rocks. I mean, we can probably find these back in Massachusetts, but this is what they look like on the outside. It's very small. So here we go. One limpet. Everybody knows the rules. You gonna go for another? Nothing goes better with seafood than loads of butter and garlic. These are good. I would even say they could rival clams. I think the only way they eat them on the island is grilled. I'd like to try them deep fried. Deep fried seafood is like comfort food for me. But these are incredible. I would compare them actually more to mussels. The mussels of the Azores. And you just slurp out the butter. I don't know why we don't eat limpets back in Massachusetts.
You're making a thing, man. They're good.
I've knocked off baby limpets from rocks before when I've just been checking out the tide pool. It's a little expensive because we paid 10 euros for 20 or 30, but I could easily crush 60 of these. Another fun fact about the Azores, they drink something called a beer trasado, which is a beer mixed with Fanta. Hey, how are you? Can I do 3 beer Fantas? This whole time, I've kind of just been ordering 3 beers and a Fanta as a joke. They actually drink it here, and they've probably been drinking this here ever since Fanta and beer were both on the island. People have asked me so many times, they go, so I got 3 beers and a Fanta, how do I drink it? Do I drink the Fanta first, then the beers? Do I drink the beers and then the Fanta? I guess the answer is you order 3 beers and you pour a little bit of Fanta into each beer, because this is delicious. So if I ever want that again, I just say, can I have a beer trasado?
Yeah, beer trasado with orange Fanta or orange soda or a Sprite.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're right here on the beach, fresh plate of limpets, and a beer and Fanta. This is island living, friends. All right, today I ordered the stingray because it was a fish of the day. It has arrived. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, you can tell that's a stingray for sure. That's its fin, I guess. All right, here's a little chunk of meat. This is for my boy, Steve Irwin, who had his life ended too shortly by a stingray. And now this stingray had his life ended too shortly so I could eat it. I did that for you, Steve. That is tasty. It's like a very moist swordfish. I think swordfish is always a little too dry. The easiest way to get the meat off is to kind of just scrape the wing, and it all comes off. And then boom, you got a nice chunk of meat. Very flavorful. There's not a ton of meat, because as you see after a while, and then you turn it around and there's even more meat. Oh, this is where most of the meat is. It's all on the back. One of the more succulent fish I've had. Just not an ounce of dryness in that at all. And I think it was only seasoned with a little bit of salt. You can even take off the tips, which have a little bit of crunch. And it doesn't have any hard bones. It just has these little things of cartilage. For stingray, I'm gonna go with an 8.1. Whoa, that's weird. Shout out my boy, Steve Irwin. Now let's move on to some other sea creatures. All right, now we're trying barnacles. I'm sure you guys know barnacles, or at least the small version of them. You know, in the summertime when you're playing at the beach and you're climbing the rocks, and then you get your feet shredded up, they start bleeding. These things are vicious little motherfuckers. Like, they will shred you up. But most of the time, they're yay big. These are some monster barnacles. Must be something in the water here. Now, my waiter cracked the first one open for me. He's got a little bit of the meat right here, so I'm just gonna sample that first. That tastes like lobster. Who knew? The whole time I've been cutting my feet on these things, I've always hated barnacles. They were the bane of my existence. Only to find out that if they grow big enough, they taste like lobster. And lobster is my favorite seafood, hands down. This is a revelation. We need to start farming barnacles back in Mass. So they give you this little barnacle fork. It almost has a beak, like a parrot. First you gotta take off the beak. I don't wanna push the beak in. All right, I think I got it out. There you go. That's the beak. Yeah. I feel like I need tweezers. All right, there you go. There is the other side of the beak. Oh, and it came out attached to the meat. I'm gonna suck it right off the beak. That is some sweet beak meat. I will say though, I was shocked by the price. I paid 35 euros, thought I would get a huge plate. Came out with 4 barnacles. Each barnacle has about a half a bite of meat. I think you're supposed to drink the barnacle juice. The barnacle juice is good. All right, I'm gonna go for one more. Very tasty meat. It tastes like lobster almost too. A crab, yeah. Think of like the sweetest crab meat you've ever had. This is very similar. Who knew? I literally never knew you could eat these. I thought they were just put on God's green and blue earth to shred skin when you rub up against it. Oh, look at that meat. Ooh. I mean, I will say, the meat is some of the sweetest seafood I've ever had, but not a lot of bang for your buck. Don't know if I would get it again, but if you're out on a boat next summer, and if you just see like a big juicy barnacle, just chip that off the rock and bring it home. Okay, actually, I misread the menu. The barnacles were only like 35 euros per kilogram. And I only got 4, which means they were like 7.5 euros. Not a bad deal. Get the barnacles, forget everything I just said. Now to wrap up this seafood culinary adventure, I got some snails. These are, it's easier to get the meat out than the barnacles. You just put in a toothpick and pull it out. Buttery. Those are tasty. Nice and tender. There's actually probably twice as much meat in this little bowl of snails than there were in the barnacles. Fun fact, pirates back in the day, if you like tried to mutiny, they would throw you over the boat and then tie a rope to the other side of the boat and drag you on the bottom of the boat that was just covered in barnacles. That sounds brutal. We're not going to dwell on that. So yeah, if you're ever in the Azores and you can afford it, grab the barnacles. If not, just drop 4 euros and try some snails. That's a wrap. Hope you got to learn about some new things from the ocean that you can eat. At this point, I think pretty much everything from the ocean is edible. You know, seaweed, sea creatures. If you know something that's not edible, please let me know. Obviously, whales and dolphins, I'm not down with eating those. Sharks too, not down with eating sharks or shark fin. But I am down with eating pretty much everything I've tried on this island. Signing out. Whoa, that's weird.
Whoa, whoa, that's weird. Really fucking weird. Holy fucking shit.